Okay, so we are live, the Montana Teacher-Librarian Digital Media Blast number 3 on November 11th, 2014. At 3:30 we'll officially get started, but Ann Ewbank and I are here and ready to talk about advocacy today. I'll go through a couple of things in some slides coming up about how to enter questions and answers and how to view links for this broadcast. But just to give you a heads up that we'll be showing you how to do that here very shortly. And with that, let's go ahead and get started with today's program, Montana Teacher-Librarian Digital Media Blast number 3. We are here in honor of Veterans Day on November 11th, and so pleased for those of you who are joining us live that you're with us and going to be able to ask us questions and have a conversation. But also for those of you who are accessing this as a recording later on, we are excited to have you with us and look forward to any feedback that you can give us. So at any rate, let's go ahead and move into the presentation. The purpose is to help share ideas, best practices, expertise, and to support each other as library professionals in the state of Montana. Our format is a very short presentation with question and answer via chat, and this is brought to you by the Montana Office of Public Instruction, the Montana Digital Professional Learning Network, and of course you who are participants in this, this great conversation. Okay, as I promised, there are ways to ask questions and to look at links. And so the slide that you see right here, if you hover your mouse over the left-hand side of the Hangout screen, you'll see a number of toolbars popping up on the left-hand side. You have to hover over them to see them. If you click on the yellow, what looks like a price tag, that will give you a showcase of links that we'll be sharing and that you can click on and take a look at as we go. Or if you want to pose a question during the Hangout, you can click on the Q&A button, and that will bring up a dialog box and you can enter your questions there. And so whether you do that at the end or during the course of this conversation, just go ahead, feel free to do that. But hopefully this helps make that feedback and that dialogue a little bit more seamless. So let's keep moving on. You can access the archive recording of this presentation at the Montana Digital Professional Learning Network. You have the link there, and you'll see an example on the screen of where you would click on that page in order to access the recordings. I will say you can also access the recordings directly from my YouTube channel, but either way is fine. Our topics, here we are in our November edition. Our topic is advocacy, and we will look at a couple of different topics in the coming months, but if you'd like to suggest a topic, you can go to my Google site and enter a topic or a suggestion. If you would like to suggest yourself as a co-presenter, that would be awesome too. So let's get right to the heart of the conversation. I'd like to introduce to you Ann Ewbank, who is from Montana State University currently. And at this point, Ann, I'll throw it over to you. And if you'd like to say a few more things about yourself, we can then proceed on from there.
Great. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you, Colette, for that introduction. Like Colette said, I am a faculty member at Montana State University. I just moved to Montana from Arizona, so I'm in my first semester and enjoying the beautiful weather here that we're having today. It's a little bit of a change, but that's okay. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really pleased to be here with you to talk about one of my passions, which is advocacy. Advocacy is something that all librarians should be interested in and should be engaging in. And so we're going to talk briefly a little bit about advocacy and give you some scenarios and examples of how you can advocate successfully for your school library. So the first thing that we're going to go over is a definition of advocacy that was developed by the American Association of School Librarians in 2005. And the definition is that advocacy is the ongoing process of building partnerships so that others will act for and with you, turning passive support into educated action for the library media program. And I've bolded several statements within this definition that I'd like to hone in on. And the first one is building partnerships. So advocacy is not something that the librarian does alone. Advocacy is definitely something that you want to develop alongside strategic partners in your school, in your community, in your school district, across the state and across the nation. And the idea is that these partnerships will lead to a fruitful relationship where others, other than the librarian, will act for and with you, turning that passive support into educated action. And so when I say passive support, you know, everybody loves the library and nobody really has anything bad to say about the library. But the question is, are they doing anything to actively support the library and its place in student learning in the school? Okay, we'll go to the next slide. And so I want to give you just a brief rundown of some ideas that might help you to frame your advocacy efforts. And the first thing you need to think about is, what strategic issue are you concerned with in the library? And I'm going to give you a scenario here. Let's say that your school has a bullying prevention program. Now, on the surface, it might seem that the library and a bullying prevention program might not necessarily be a partnership that is going to enhance awareness of the library, but the library is in fact the heart of the school, and bullying is definitely something that all librarians should be interested in, and that interested in its prevention. So if your school has a strategic issue like a bullying prevention program or some sort of a citizenship awareness program or something like that, I recommend that you hook into that school-wide type of program in order to promote and advocate for the Library Media Center. So you need to think about that strategic issue in the context of your school, and think about what groups have a similar issue or concern. So if your school principal is very adamant about the bullying prevention program, for example, that's an opportunity to really begin to develop a partnership with the principal, if that's the main thing on the principal's agenda. And so then you need to think about how the partnership will serve your group's needs, which would be the library's needs, and the needs of the partners. So it really needs to be a mutually beneficial strategic issue that both the library as well as whoever you're partnering with is interested in. And then finally, thinking about how you'll move together from support to action on the issue. And so, for example, if we take the example of a bullying prevention program in a school, the library can obviously provide information on bullying prevention. It can host student programs on bullying prevention and a host of other opportunities related to the strategic issue. And so eventually your principal is going to see that the library is integral to this bullying prevention program. And so that's a way to hook into an issue that is of importance to a school leader and that will benefit the entire school. So I want you to think about how you might work specifically to raise awareness about school library programs. Think about the issues that are of the most importance to your school administration, and think specifically about how the library can support those issues. Another issue that is on any principal's mind is student achievement. So we know from various studies across the United States and the provinces of Canada that the presence of a school librarian and a well-stocked, well-run school library media program positively correlates with student achievement. So sharing that information with your principal is one start to raising awareness about school library programs and how they can impact student achievement. But it's not necessarily enough just to share the information. Developing the partnership is the most important thing you can do. So think about ways that you can develop a partnership with your principal around the issue of student achievement, for example. So one way you could do that is to join the school's professional development committee and position yourself as a leader in the school in promoting student achievement, from training on the Common Core standards to possibly working to incorporate technology into classrooms, or demonstrating how a flipped classroom might work. Whatever those issues are of strategic importance to your school leadership. And then think a little bit about how you might build partnerships with people and groups to move your agenda forward. So, you know, the school library, like I said earlier, is the heart of the school, and your agenda should be about student learning and student achievement. And so thinking about that and positioning your agenda and partnering with the leaders in your school is a positive way to build those partnerships. And then think about who or what groups you might work to influence. For example, if you have a strong parent-teacher organization at your school, those are natural allies for the school library program. So think about and investigate what are the most important issues for the parent-teacher organization, and think about how the library can position itself as a partner with those issues that the parent-teacher organization is interested in. And so I think the takeaway here is that advocacy is a very localized phenomenon, and nobody else can do it for you. You need to take a strategic look at the landscape of your school and decide what's best for you and your community in order to promote and advocate for the library media program. I think it's really important to reach out to your constituencies and discover what is the most important and strategic thing that you can do within the context of your library to assist in promoting that strategic issue. So please remember that it is up to you, and the bottom line is that student achievement and the students are why we do what we do. So thank you so very much for listening, and I think we'll take questions now.
Thank you, Ann, very much. As you were speaking, I was really thinking about that word strategic, and to be thinking about, with all of the things that we have on our plate to do as teacher librarians, as essentially library directors and instructional leaders in our school, being really strategic, I think, can help us be better advocates. Thinking about, too, one of the things that you said, talking about not just academic supports, kind of the traditional things that we think about in supporting a particular curriculum, whether it's math or English or science, but thinking also about those social and emotional needs of students. I really love the idea of looking at, if in Montana you're an MBI school or an MTSS school, the multi-tiered systems of support, look at those initiatives as absolutely, you know, perfect partners in supporting students. So I really appreciate those ideas and thinking strategically about those partners, but also, you know, kind of looking a little bit more broadly for who those strategic partners might be. You'll see over whether you click on the showcase button, the little thing that looks like a price tag, or you can see the links that we have on the screen right now. I have a number of resources linked from the Montana Teacher-librarian Google site that will give you some advocacy tools. The American Association of School Librarians has great toolkits and references and sources to help build your library and to give you some messaging around that. So we invite you to take a look at those things on the site as well. If you are so inclined to post a question, again, you can hover over the left-hand side of your screen, click the Q&A, a little dialog box, and then that brings up a question and answer box. I'll just click on that and see if we have any questions. I am not seeing any at the moment, but let's go ahead. I'm going to invite you again to reach out. One of the purposes of this digital media blast is to help you think about who are your partners, and whether those are the partners that you need to have for strong advocacy within your school, or think about those partners across the state or across the district. Here are just a couple of ideas about how to connect with them through the Google site, through the Montana Library Association, through the Montana Ed Chat, which is a great educational discussion. But also, we'd invite, Ann and I both would invite you to be in touch with us. So you see my email address, and you see the link to the archive. And at this point, I don't see any questions, but Ann, is there anything else that you would like to say to kind of wrap up the topic of advocacy? What's the one piece of advice that you would give to our Montana school library media specialists about advocacy?
Well, I think, Colette, I think that the one piece of advice that I would give is to not see advocacy as something extra, something that, one more thing that you as a library media specialist have to do in order to have a successful program. Rather, think of advocacy as embedded in your daily work. So those strategic partnerships that you build and develop should also be beneficial to the Library Media Center as well. So think strategically. Again, we keep using that word strategic, about how you can embed advocacy within your position and within your job, so that it doesn't feel like it's something extra. It just becomes what you do.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really good advice, and you know, we certainly all have enough to do, but when we look at the success of school library programs and their sustainability, especially in times where resources are scarce, we have, you know, programs that are really suffering because they don't necessarily have a way that they've defined themselves strategically with the partners within a school. So I think it's a matter of survival. I think we have to, as Ann said, you know, include advocacy as part of just what we normally do, so that we can ensure the success of the program overall. Ultimately, it's all about ensuring that our students are effective users and producers of ideas and information. That's my favorite mission statement. So hopefully we've shared some ideas that can help you think about this and how you will incorporate advocacy into your daily routines. Please be in touch as we go forward, and at this point we will sign off the broadcast.